What up, what up, what up? It's another episode of the Shark Cove, but it's a midday edition. We haven't done one of these in quite a few days. I don't know if I'm talking about a Shark Cove or a midday edition because the same can be said with both of them. But last couple days we've been off recharging the batteries. We've got an LCS Super Week. I've been watching more LCS than I have been waking up in the middle of the night, so I can lose my money on LPL, LCK. I'm already up. I can lose my money on this. So let's lose our money together, or maybe craft a plot to maybe win a little bit of money, not just off the underdog folks, but maybe off the DraftKings guys. Maybe we do a trifecta and we bet some on Bovada and we win all three. So I do plan on, doing this with Moose, doing the LPL, LCK later today. But let's just right into the LCS because we've got a couple matchups today that I think are interesting. A couple of them not so much. Let's hop right into it. Okay, let's take a look. We've got an opening match. Make sure you guys can see it. We got Team Liquid versus Evil Genius. Team Liquid plus 155. Evil Geniuses minus 205. Looking at a spread of 25.5. Look, if we had taken this game and plopped it 4 weeks ago, I'm not so sure what the line would have been. But this Team Liquid team looks like one that needs a little bit of development. The new guys have not necessarily slid right into LCS action and done it seamlessly. They've had some struggles. They've shown signs. They've shown promise. But I know in the Discord, the popular thing is to say that they suck. And quite frankly, I kind of agree with you, at least in their performances on the Rift right now. But this is probably a Team Liquid team that we need to adjust the expectations and realize that they're probably just not going to be ready for spring. We're in spring. We see that. They're not going to be ready for spring playoffs. This might be a team that scales into summer, or quite possibly, as long as they don't, give up on these guys, this might be a team we're looking at 2024. Evil Geniuses, on the other hand, have been hot and cold. I mean, we've seen this team show glimpses of what made them so good last year, but we've also seen them have some real lapses. And one of the things that I would say, and I'm going to talk about some of the other teams, is that really understanding their win conditions at times. This EG team reminded me of a solo queue. Their game yesterday reminded me of a solo queue game that I played earlier today, where we had a massive lead and we got a little cocky. We started feeling ourselves, and I had the worst Nocturne jungle. It wasn't me, but he was absolutely awful, or maybe she, I don't know. And that really kind of threw it away. And that's what we almost saw from EG yesterday. They were able to at least snap out of it and realize that they had one moment to make it all happen. And they seized it. One moment, just to would you let it slip? I don't think so. So, look, in this game right here, I don't necessarily think that this is bettable. I think this line is pretty much right where I have it, kind of like 24 to 26. So, if I leaned one way, I'm definitely looking at Evil Geniuses. I don't want to play a minus 205 right here. I might put that in a parlay if I felt good about somebody else, but this may be a game that we look at in DFS depending on the pricing. But in terms of like putting actually a bet down on one side or the other, I think I'm going to abstain. So let's see. Oh my gosh, not playable in DFS either. Look, hey, there's always something we can look at and try and make it playable, but I'll trust you on that one. Let's see what we have after that. We've got the Immortals versus Cloud9. Look, when we talk about best of one games, we do talk about a plus 265 being kind of one of those things that you just almost have to bet. But you look up and down these two lineups, and I think that you don't have to. I just stay away from this one. I do think the over-under is maybe a little bit low at 21.5. I think that if you're going to bet anything, that's probably what I'm taking. I'm taking the over. I think Cloud9 rolls this game. I think that they get somewhere between 17 to 20 kills. I think I have them projected right at 18, and I have Immortals at 4. Can they find more kills? I absolutely think that they can. I think Immortals can find more kills in that grouping. I guess your worry is a game that's like a 15 to 2 or a 16 to 4, but we have seen, Cloud9 show that they like to run it up. We've seen this Immortals team kind of be somewhat resilient at times. But yeah, 21.5, that's a really low number. I get why, and I understand that the book doesn't think that Immortals is going to pick up their end of the slack, but I think Cloud9 is going to cover it for them. I think Cloud9 could go over 21 and a half themselves. I know that there's been some chatter about playing Immortals, and there's been some chatter about playing Dig and DFS, and I think those are both crazy. But when you look at the slate as a whole, I totally get where that's coming from. So let's move on. We're going to kind of breeze through this pretty quickly. I am by myself. I have music going in my headphones. It's a whole new kind of experience for me. A little lo-fi stuff. Let's see, CLG versus 100 Thieves. I think this is a game that a lot of people are going to, you know, gravitate towards. I don't want to say that they're going to take a stand on it because I'm not sure that people will. I do think that people will gravitate towards this. We've seen that 100 Thieves are one of the better teams in this league. I think that their preseason number at plus 1,000 to win spring was an absolute smash bet, and they've kind of proven that. They don't appear that they're necessarily on that same level as a Cloud9 or as a FlyQuest, and I certainly don't see them beating either of those teams in a best of 3 on a regular basis or a best of 5 regular basis. But I think that in the right situation that they definitely could. Now, this CLG team, on the other hand, the only advantage that I see them having here is they seem to be ahead of the curve when it comes to the meta, ahead of the curve on some of these weird picks. I think that they recognize, or maybe they don't, based off of Luger's interview yesterday, that they might not be as good as some of these other teams position by position or as a unit, but cohesively, that unit, if they are progressive enough in terms of identifying what the meta is and playing picks that some of these teams who might be better than, might not be, are not used to playing, at least in a competitive sense, that they might have an advantage. And I think you see that um, in the early parts of the season or as the patches change, they tend to have some of that success. And yeah, certainly most of that is going to be against lesser teams, but we've seen them knock off better teams or teams higher in the standings than them on a multitude of different occasions since this group has been assembled. When you look at it, I mean, all of these players have their flaws, but I think that they can get a win here against 100 Thieves. I'd be interested in possibly taking that plus 180. Um, Personally, I do think 100 Thieves wins here, so I'm not going to. But at plus 180, I think CLG wins more than 1 out of 3 times. I think this is a little bit closer, so I don't hate it. It's probably not my play. So far on my card, it's just the C9 Immortals over 21 and a half. Let's take a look here. Now we've got TSM, we've got FlyQuest. Look, man, I don't know. I'd like TSM plus 315. That's a scary number. It's a big number. It's a number that I think that you almost want to take, that just in case lightning strikes. One of the things that I guess you'd say when it comes to FlyQuest is this team is obviously the best team in the LCS. There's no question about that. I would even argue that they may be the best team in the West. However, I think that when you are that good, it is difficult to continually perform in these best of one kind of scenarios and situations. We've seen it in the past. It's hard to go undefeated. It's hard to do that for a period of time. And there have been glimpses of FlyQuest kind of cracking in terms of their gameplay. Maybe it's just a little bit too much ego. Maybe they're in their head. Can TSM pull this one off? I'm going to say no. They won't. They can, but at plus 315, I might sprinkle like a quarter unit or a half unit on there. Look, when we talk about TSM, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit. Well, you know what? Let's just go. Let's go to the screen. Let's do it right now. Let's talk about this. So I saw a lot of people were pretty interested in TSM yesterday. Nathan was high on them for the weekend, but part of that was that you think that they could beat the Golden Guardians. Golden Guardians has been a team that have historically not been very good, even this group of players. And you look up and down, you look at Licorice, you look at Stixay, you look at like the components that comprise this GG team, and you're like, man, they're not very good. I mean, River's okay. I mean, maybe borderline good. We don't really think that Gory is like a world-class player, but amongst these LCS mid laners, maybe he looks like it. But one of the things that we saw yesterday with Golden Guardians, and sometimes even the better teams don't do this, is a recognition of what their comp does, how they need to win and playing to that. Like I had a ton of Golden Guardians yesterday, and when I saw that draft and I saw that they were massively outscaled, I was kind of worried. I was kind of worried because this TSM team has been one of the worst early game teams, but really good in the late game. They've been able to weather kind of the storms and the flurries from some of these teams early, make some mistakes, and then come back when the other team makes the mistakes. On the flip side of things, this Golden Guardians team has made some of those mistakes late. So I thought this was kind of a perfect situation yesterday for TSM to, take a couple shots early, maybe get a pick or whatever the case is, and end up outscaling and winning this game. I guess I didn't have the confidence in the Golden Guardians to go ahead and play to their composition strength. And boy, was I wrong. They absolutely did. They understood what their win condition was. They played to it. They got to an early lead, and they didn't let up. I mean, that's what we saw with EG. EG let up. EG had an opportunity to finish that game and press their advantage, but they were feeling themselves a little bit too much. This GG team did not do that. So, look, the concern that I'm talking about with all of this as it pertains to TSM and FlyQuest is FlyQuest has been fantastic in the early game. Not as good as some of the other teams, but they've been fantastic. This TSM team has not. They've been one of the worst teams in the early game, and I just don't see how they can scale into the late game, play against this FlyQuest team, which seemingly turns on a switch and decides that the game is over and ends it. Are they going to toy with their food? Yeah, I think that they might. I mean, I do think that FlyQuest is probably going to drop some games this spring, whether that be in the round robin stage that we're in right now, or whether that turns out to be in the actual playoffs. But I don't think TSM is one of those teams that's beating them. So unfortunately for Nathan's weekly best ball team, I think this TSM team goes 0-2. I think when you drafted them, you kind of relatively expected this was not a game that they were going to pick up. But still, look, hey, it's plus 315. It's a best of one. Anything can happen. Go for it. Last game, the other game that I think people will gravitate to is Dignitas and Golden Guardians. This goes a lot back to what we were just talking about in terms of teams recognizing what they needed to do. And we have two teams here that are very, very good, relatively, contextually, in the early game. They're better than they are late, I guess I should say that. I guess in the context of their overall game, early, mid, and late, these two teams do tend to be better in the early and mid game. But then, like this Dignitas team has built up leads in multiple situations and they've thrown it apart. We've talked at times in the Discord about what this meta really is about. They talk about it on the broadcast all the time. And this is really focused on the bot lane and getting them ahead, getting push and letting, not always being the primary carry, but at least getting that advantage early. And Spawn is just so much worse than everybody else in this league. I'm not the biggest Stixay fan. Let's just put it that way. Everybody knows that. I've had some remarks about why this guy's still in the LCS, but when it comes to playing against some of these other kind of bot lanes, this is the type that he tends to flourish against. This is the time that he matches up well. It's not against the Princes. It's not against the Berserkers. It's not against the double lifts, those S and A tier bottom lanes. But this is Spawn, and Spawn, quite frankly, belongs back in Academy. In fact, who is the NACL for Dignitas? They're actually, I believe, they're number one in the NACL right now. Yeah, 72, 16 and 2 total. Who's this guy? I mean, at some point you have to think, oh, they've got Toma. I mean, we've seen Tomo in the league before. I think Tomo is better than what we have as Spawn. So I don't know. I wonder at some point if we see the switch from Spawn to Tomo. He's just been holding this team back all the way through. Yeah, I will take Stixay over Spawn every single day. Is it possible to feel yourself too much? Look, yeah, for sure. It totally is. Drive safely, Lee. Yeah, definitely drive safe. Okay, so let's hop into this here. But this one right here, Dignitas and Golden Guardians, as we take a look at these numbers. Dignitas, early game rating 27.7. Golden Guardians is at 45.5. Both of these teams struggle in the late game. I do think that this Golden Guardians team was a bit slept on after playing quite a difficult schedule over the first 2 weeks. If we go back and take a look, Gold Guardians started the season playing EG, who they almost beat, but they threw it away late. Then they played C9, FlyQuest, and got thoroughly handled by a Team Liquid team that, despite some of the challenges that I think that they still have a ton of talent, and it comes through at times. There's, to me, a lack of continuity or understanding from some of the newer guys and what they need to do in certain situations at this level. And I think that's going to come with time. And so I think that that's part of the progression. But there are times where they know exactly what to do and they execute it flawlessly. So I think that happened against the Golden Guardians in their last matchup. But then GG gets to go ahead and play CLG, who they thoroughly beat, IMT, who they thoroughly beat, and TSM. So this is a game that they absolutely should win. I like it. I mean, if I'm betting two favorites, around this -200 mark, maybe I bet Golden Guardians, maybe I bet EG, and I put them together to get a little bit better odds, or I just throw 2 units on each of them. I don't know. In any case, I'm probably not betting Golden Guardians. I think I'm just going to stick to the C9. Take a look at the chat and see if maybe Gelati went ahead and put in his kind of LCS bets yet. See if he's in the same situation. No, he did not. So, all right. Let's see. Let's take a look here. All right, let's take a look at some DFS. So we were talking about that Team Liquid Evil Genius match. Now we're not going to do any kind of what we normally do on the show. We're not going to talk about cash games because it's the LCS. I think cash games are kind of crazy in the LCS. But if we want to match this like Evil Geniuses team, who I think are the favorites, obviously, even in pricing, yeah, it's not the same. Can we do it with C9? Let's take a look. Oracle's Elixir is what the site is. So this is oracleselixir.com. Has all the different leagues. You can do it by teams, players, all that good stuff. So let's go back to it. So you can get like a blabber captain here. I think that this is an interesting play. One of the things that we have seen, though, is this EG team, and Inspired specifically, is not playing like the Inspired that I think some of us still believe that he is, this carry jungle. He carries the game in different ways, and part of that is going to be the champion pool that the junglers are playing with right now. And I think the same can be said about Blabber here. So I think that this carries quite a bit of risk, if we're going to play that. If we go with like an Evil Geniuses Golden Guardians, you can do a little bit more. We've got a lot of money left over. I think that this is absolutely a spot that you can go to. Probably make it a 4-3. Talk a little bit about. Let's see what the chat's saying. YGG chalk for the takedown. Who's with me? Let's take a look, man. Let's look at some combos. YGG. Okay, that's an interesting one. I mean, I think that there are probably other options that you have to, but I like that one too. Now we're hearing EG's too cheap. I was told earlier that that's not the case. Don't give away the secret Oracle juice, Emmerich. Hey, it's free information. Gold.gg is a good place to go too. Cookies are ready to ship with 50. Yeah, hey. Look, I'd rather ship with 50 of my closest friends than spend time at the bottom with 1,000 of my least favorite people. But let's take a look. Thumbs up and subscribe. Absolutely. I don't do a good enough job or nearly as persistent about getting you guys to give it a thumbs up, hit the like button, get the notifications, hit the subscribe. I know half of you guys aren't subscribed on the YouTube channel. If we could get 10 times more, man, we could probably get a free roll contest. Not free roll DFS, but we could get I could run a free roll contest as we could monetize the content. That would be wonderful. Fly GG, Fade, Prince, solo takedown. I really like it. I like that one a lot. You can get rid of Prince here. You're really going to just hope that maybe he's got a cough. He's got something else going on. You can grab Gory in the captain slot. Go ahead and grab Vikla right there. Switch this up. Maybe you go with a fly. You can't do a fly quest, but that's okay. That's okay. We can find another team. We can maybe do like 100 Thieves. Do something like that. I'm a big fan of that lineup right there. I'm probably going to play that lineup today. Secret chat. I don't see that. Oh man, not subscribing thumbs up. Fuck. Damn, man. We had it. We had it, but maybe we'll earn it back. We'll earn it back. So let's talk about some of the games that I do think are interesting and where people are going to go. We said that the four teams that I think people are going to try and pair with a lot of different situations are these four. Look, we know that Dignitas can go with anybody. I don't know if that's the best idea. We know that CLG can go with anybody. I don't know if that's the best idea, but it's better than Dig. Um, these other teams, who can we pair them with? Obviously, FlyQuest and GG goes well. What about FlyQuest and 100 Thieves? I mean, that's an interesting lineup, but probably not the way that I want to go. What about 100 Thieves and C9? Not generating. And this music in the background is really setting the mood, guys. I wish I could play it for you. With that, can we do FlyQuest EG? I like that one too. I think that's an interesting lineup. So I don't know. Here's one spot that I think a lot of people won't go to. I mean, price wise, other things. Can we do a Team Liquid? Can we do a Team Liquid and FlyQuest? Look, this game yesterday for Evil Geniuses looks a lot different if JoJo doesn't go ahead and get some of those early kills. Maybe if just 100 Thieves played it a little bit different, that game goes very differently. Maybe same thing can be said. And look, I quite frankly really like this lineup here. I think you can maybe even change this. Some of the team slots that I kind of do like would be maybe like more like 100 Thieves. They seem like a slow, methodical team that likes to, I don't know, take their time, get their dragons, whereas teams like FlyQuest and C9 seemingly get bored at some point, just end the game. So those are two spots that I kind of like, and this is probably my favorite lineup that we've constructed. I don't know what it is. I continue to play Team Liquid every single week, and I thought about this to myself yesterday. I was like, man, I might just go broke. They might never win me a slate. One thing to note, Winsome is not in the player pool, and so that's why we're not seeing all four of the FlyQuest guys. But I think you can go with Winsome here. I think you can go with Core JJ. You can even kind of switch it up, maybe do a little impact change up at the top there. Prince Captain go neck. It's just the Prince Captain. Yeah, look, at some points you just kind of overthink it, right? I played a lot of WE last night. Look, I know that LNG is always optimal. I know it. What a mistake. It's right until it's wrong. Wow, we got two gelatis. Like I told you guys, we live in a simulation. Nothing's real. Absolutely nothing. So let's take a look at a couple things. I know that we had a comment in here for who sup unders. Wow, I'm glad you asked. Let's go ahead and take a look. So the way that you would do that, guys, if you are playing on Underdog, and if you're playing on Underdog, we would appreciate it. Well, if you haven't played on Underdog yet, we'd appreciate it if you use code COVE at Underdog Fantasy for up to $100 match on your first deposit. One of the things that we love to do is talk about sup unders. Seemingly nothing more than a coin flip. Sup unders are the best select that we have in DFS. So let's talk about it. Let's take a look at who we got. Who do we have? Who are the killers? I think here's your answer, guys. When it comes to the LCS, we don't have any killers. We don't have any. Now, one of the things that I like to do typically is look at sups and wins. And I don't think that there's as much of a difference as wins and losses as you can see. But a guy like Sven, I think started this season with like 1 or 2 games with kills. I think his sup under right now is set at 1. So like if we took his number and we looked at it in wins, he's got a 6. I mean, it's a 1. The question is, if you're putting that on there, you're kind of pushing on a line. You think that he's going to get the kill, but what if he gets 2? What if he gets none? What if he gets 1? Obviously, these all have different things to them, but I think that the Sven addition on a ticket is interesting in the sense that you can put him on there for an over. If he gets 1, it pushes, it goes down to the lower multiplier, and he's been pretty consistent at that. We see guys like kind of Poom who have absolutely no kills and wins. They don't have a ton of wins, but in these losses, We've got guys with kills like who he's obviously a big killer in losses and wins. He has not been. I mean, at the end of the day, guys, all of these are just about one per game. So let's hop into it. Let's take a look. What subs do we want? Do we want to do a sub only ticket? Sven off the board already. I don't know about under. I gotta throw these up. But win some 0.5 over is a lock. Okay. Okay. So let's do it. Let's talk about it. Let's put this on here. Is that big enough? That's what she said. Let's find a couple here. So in the LCS, Sven off the board. Oh my gosh. I see that you said that spell. Go ahead and grab this. All right, so I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go Sven because we talked about it. Dude's a killer. Then we're talking about Winsome, huh? Higher. I like it. I like it. We're gonna just throw $10. We're really conservative these days. I've been just grinding. Got a little money in my account here. So let's talk about some of these numbers. If you guys have any of the plays that you like in chat that you want to put onto a particular ticket here, we'll absolutely do it. But we've gotten to this kind of point where we've discussed the betting, discussed the DFS. We have our favorite lineup. If you missed it, there it is. But let's talk about this. Let's go through these games. Let's talk about the LCS. First and foremost, we've got EG, we've got Sunday at 2.5, we got Piosik at 2. I think, you know, when it comes to these underdog numbers, and I don't mean the site, I mean the actual underdog in the game, I like targeting those, especially when I think they're live and especially when I think that they're going to win. I think TL has a really good opportunity to do that. We've seen Piosik at times able to hit this number even in losses. That's not necessarily where I have him projected in losses. I think if I'm looking at this, I have him projected at 2.56 on a 16 kill win, and I have him at 1.28 on a loss. So this is a one that we kind of would toy with. On the other side of this matchup, you've got Sunday at 2.5 kills. Sunday just kind of fits into that. I think if he loses, there's no way that he hits this. So, I mean, I think that this is a correlation ticket. You could do something along these lines. I'm not sure either of these are going to make it. Another number I saw kind of floated in the Discord. Ty, you had this. You had C9, you had Diplex, 3.5 kills. You had the under. I think that's a very scary place to be. Diplex does project out at 3.5. And for me, you can't obviously get, half a kill in a game. So some of the games he's going to finish with 3, some he's going to finish with 4. I have these guys at 18 kills. If they get into that 20 to 22 range, I think Diplex gets it. If they, end this game early, as kind of the odds would indicate on Bovada, the books believe that. I think your under is a good play. We're going to stick with kind of Sven as the only addition to a ticket here. The next question that you have is when you're playing a game like this is tactical. This number hit yesterday. Do we think tactical can just somehow luck himself into 2 kills? He couldn't yesterday. So I think a tactical under 1.5 is a nice way to go. It's a juicy line. It's not super juicy, but it's just a little juicy, like a juicy fruit gum type of line. 100 Thieves CLG, Tenacity. I mean, I don't know. Nathan's got these bad lines. All we've got are top laners and junglers. We don't have any of those ADCs and mid laners. Let's go through and see if we can find some of those. I guess the question that I would have before we go there is contracts, 1.5 kills. Didn't hit it yesterday. In losses, that's a tough number for him to hit because I do believe that they probably only get a handful of kills and losses. The CLG team, if they build a comp that doesn't work, it doesn't work. And they struggle throughout that game. You might get a kill early and then you're just sweating it the rest of the way. I'm going to let the chat decide, do we throw a contracts line of over 1.5 or do we go the under 1.5? I think we're going to end up spending more time in rivals than we are going to anywhere else. But let's kind of continue here. Spawn lower than 2 seems good. Okay, I like that. I think we can go Vikla over 3.5 too. And then you're saying Spawn under. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, it's 1.5 now. So you bet the line down for your rolls. Let's see. Snag River +3 over Stixay. 3 is a lot. 3 is a big number. Unsure if it's still being offered. Let's see what the projections say. River +3 over Stixay. I think that that's definitely, again, a lot of these are going to be, dependent on which way you think that the game is going to go. And if you think that Dignitas can win, then yeah. I mean, when we look at the way that River's numbers have kind of changed over the course of this season, I think at one point he did in losses hold a pretty significant advantage in kills. I'm sure that's probably still the same case. Both sides here, kill share 33%. The thing is, 33 versus 16, that makes a ton of sense. Thing is, in wins, that drops all the way down to 13.2. Now, is this just a small sample? Is this a byproduct, or is this the way that they need to play to win? Do they need to play through these two core carries right here? And I would tell you that the answer is probably yes. So, 3 is still a big number. 3 is still a big number. In a win, I have Stixay and Gory both about 5.5, and I have River at 2.5. So that 3 number is there. If you think that this game is, a typical dig loss and GG win, probably think that they get about 16 kills, and that's what I have. But if this game is, for whatever reason, a game that they start to trade more punches early because both of these teams kind of rise to that occasion, I think this is a situation where you probably don't like that number as much. But hey, to each their own. Let's see, what else do we got? Difflex under. Let's see. All right. Well, let's hop back into this. I think the consensus was inspired over FBI, and part of the reason for that was a belief that maybe Team Liquid wins this game, and I think that that goes really well with the POSIC. So I think we maybe have our ticket here. Let's go through this. Let's see if there's anything else we like. If there's anything else we want. Let me check the chat. Let me check the Discord. Let me see what's going on. Okay. Let's take a look here. Anything in chat? Any other picks that we like? Got Summit over Yeon. Yeon over Harry. Fudge over Blabber. See, this is one I particularly do like. Blabber gets involved early, but does seed a lot of those kills late. So whether it's Fudge or Berserker, I almost think that I would rather. I'm gonna take these out. I like them, but we're gonna go with a Berserker or Fudge. Fudge over Blabber screwed you yesterday. Okay, let's go back to it today then. We've got to exercise our demons, right? That's the only way you can do it. You got to do stuff you don't like. You got to do stuff when you're not motivated. My TikTok feed is a lot of David Goggins and whale noises. I don't know. Just never search whale noises. Like it's all you get from there on out. Going into this, I don't like to play losing teams and rivals quite as much, especially losing teams that don't get a ton of kills. We've got double lift over Closer 2.5 or double lift over Bjergsen 2. I know some of us wanted Bjergsen over double lift, but I think that. Let's see, how does this come grayed out for me? Man, double lift's numbers are just so wacky because of their wins. Closer's just been absolutely atrocious in terms of getting kills. I know that this is probably the wrong way to go, but we're going to do it. We're going to do all of that. This is a 5-piecer. So this is, I think, where we're going to stay. Let's take a look if there's anything else that we like on the winning side of things. Spica over Impact. I do kind of like that. Prince over Impact, not so much. Prince over Spica. These are just big numbers. I like it. It's just hard for him to perform, I think, at the same level, game in and game out. I do think that you could take any type of big numbers if you were getting one on this TSM side, but you're not. Just not enough kills, I would suspect. The other one that I really, 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 really do like is this Licorice over Stixay, or Stixay over Licorice. I'm sorry. I think Golden Guardians wins this game. And if Golden Guardians wins this game, I like this number better than the Stixay over River. And part of that reason is Armut, as much as Armut, whatever. as much as we like to kind of rag on him, he has been a early game force for Dignitas. One of the only ways that they've seen any type of success, and Licorice has been, questionable at times. We've seen some glimpses of his good play, and we've seen some glimpses of his bad play. And quite frankly, I mean, that's always who he's been. But 2.5 kills over Stixay. If they win this game, Stixay is getting a ton of kills. Let's are we exercising the demons? Is that what we're doing? Yeah, Bjergsen over closer. I definitely have that. I definitely have that on the ticket. Um, you know what? Let's take this one off. Take 6A over licorice. That's the way that I want to put that. And then, yeah, let's take a look at that. So here's the ticket. We've got Piosik 2 kills. We've got Vikla 3.5. We've got Fudge over Blabber. We've got Double Lift over Closer. We've got Stixay over Licorice. We're going to throw just a quick little $20 on that. We are going to be pussies about it. We are going to insure it. It's not the right way to do it, but look, we insure things here. Trying to get an insurance sponsor. Life insurance is important. So, talk to your agent. All right. Well, hey, look, guys, thanks for coming on. I'm going to do this again tomorrow. I promise it'll probably be better. It is a little bit different when you're doing it by yourself and you're not used to it. So tomorrow, I don't know, if one of you wants to join, let me know. Probably aim for the same time or maybe even earlier in the morning. Maybe we'll get some juicier underdog lines at that point. But beyond that, join us tonight around 8:45, 9 o'clock, right around the end of the fourth game, the beginning of the fifth game. We'll go over that LPL LCK slate. Hopefully sweat out that game 5 Gold Guardians Dignitas game and get some winners on underdog, get some winners on DK. I will talk to you guys later.